And as we know, this is healing breath, heart breath for 1 minute for healing for Sat City because she has been in the hospital. Okay, so begin. As we know, and begin. And tuning in, inhale. Om Namo Gurudev
Namo.
Om Namo Gurudev Namo Om Namo Gurudev Namo Agre Gakre Name Sakre Name
Sri Gurudev Namaha. Adgare Name. Chiragare Name. Guru Name. Sri Gurudev Chigadgare Name. Sadgare Name. Sri Gurudev Name.
Hard breath. And we will, so Japa Saraswati, will you please put the chat?
Yes. Okay. This is our message from Baba City Chand today, is to learn why this truly cruel and dark government for understanding why the consciousness is evolving from the Aquarian age. Do we understand this?
Mm-hmm. You all get it? Okay. And so now let's us have 1 minute for heart pumping. And after that, do 4 minutes heart breath and begin. and continue. Heart breath for Baba City Chun for 4 minutes for heart breath. And inhale, exhale, and breathe. Agya Paul.
Yes. This was very heavy for me. So what Baba told me is that, we're on this journey from the mechanistic to the organic, and our consciousness is so needs to transform, and he said that we are in this transformation, undergoing even a spiritual revolution. In other words, our notion, consciousness of spirituality is actually even going to change. And he says that, we've come to the edge of an abyss, right? So the earth is dying. We can't, consumption. Let's see, this individualistic, dualistic age that we're in. The mechanistic view is like incomplete. He says, we need more. We need to get organic. We need to get our hands dirty, like our ancestors, our hands dirty. We need to connect more with people. And what he then flooded me with were a couple of images that, first it was a tiny image of, I was looking at the grass and the the ground, and then I see all this dirt kind of bubbling, coming up. And then what comes up after it were some some beings. I couldn't tell what it was. The earth, however, had to come up and be pushed away. And the second image was my friend was in a car accident, and her arm, she thought she had just, like a scab on her arm, and I had to take her to the wound doctor because underneath that scab was an inch worth of necrotic tissue. So point is, he showed me that, she thought all she had to do was remove that scab, but underneath it was all this dead stuff, tissue. And what Baba said, to tying that in with what we're what the question I asked him, that this truly cruel and dark energy is what is being pushed up and out. And so that, because we have no choice but to be, he says, reborn. So we need to really, it's calling, this apocalyptic time is calling for writing, a totally new consciousness. And so he said, yes, no wonder why it's not to wonder why all this dark stuff, shall I say, necrotic tissue, is energy that has to be pushed up and away. And that's and so that's our work to transform from what we know of what we've been living, this world of consumption and individualism, of modernity, and all of that. That's totally didn't work. And the earth is dying. Our earth is finite. People don't realize that. So but anyway, that's what I heard was this cruel and dark energy is yeah, it's being pushed up and out, and um we're doing it by moving from the mechanistic view of the world to the Descartes, all of that stuff, view of the world, to an organic view, so that we can see that we're part of this ecological system of life, and agree to it. So we're at the edge, and we have to jump. It's like this. There's an abyss here, and that's what scares the hell out of me. Is we have no choice. So I said to him, he said, no, you just don't have any choice. You're going to have to jump into this abyss and be reborn. And he mentioned the star people, allowing the star people to come and to help with this consciousness, a revolution. He didn't say that. That's my words. And but in order to see beyond the veil, right, to understand what's going on, our consciousness is a different consciousness on the other side of the veil. So we have to change, ask for guidance to change our consciousness, and so that we can see we're a part of everything, and we're a part of everyone. And we've been saying that, God and me and God are one. But now it's absolutely, that's part of what it's going to take, that real belief, in order to jump into that abyss and to allow, I'll say, myself to be reborn. So it's a whole new story that's going to ensue from all of this.
Say it again.
It's a whole new story. Story in the sense of myth, it's not a pejorative term, myth. It's the way we will explain ourselves to ourselves, our new self to ourselves. And we have to write this new story.
Wait a minute. We couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's because I had my thumb on it.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So I was just saying, it's like incumbent upon us. Our work now is to write this new story. And again, we have to push away the old consciousness. It has to we have to bubble up with our new ways of thinking and believing, and that we're not individuals isolated. We are individuals as part of an ecosystem, and the cosmos is in us, and we're in the cosmos, and that's beyond my understanding, of course, but that's the work. That's what he told me.
Well, that's amazing. Okay. Oh, yes, and there's another thing. You were talking about humans. On the other side, what's happening with Earth? You were talking about dirt and grass and so on. What's happening with our physical Earth?
With our physical Earth,
Yes.
well, our physical Earth is dying. It's finite, and as we treat it, the Earth, like a machine, mechanistically, we're just taking from it. So we're not, it's not a interdependence. It's not a give and take. So we have to stop just taking from the Earth and raise the consciousness of people to understand. We got to go back to the organic. I just joined a community supported agricultural organization because they are growing their own crops. They're growing, and I want to support that. So so that's what the earth. And so the example that he showed me about the dirt being pushed out in a way was the idea that our consciousness is shifting. It's a new one, and that's why the dark is, amping up, and the cruel is amping up because it's not not open to this. They're still really embedded. This consciousness, dark stuff, is so embedded in Bitcoin and money and consumption and I'm better than you and ego and all. So it's really that this dirt is it's not easy for this dirt to be pushed up. It's a big job. It's almost like he's showing me right now, it's almost like a volcano erupting that so it's this volcano has been sort of quiet and sleepy for a long time. Now all of a sudden, boom, comes this fiery lava coming up, and that's us. In other words, what we have to do to move this dark consciousness is to use all the power, all the energy, each other, ourselves, to do it. There's no way we can do this alone. We are creatures of connection, and yeah, and yep. So anyway, that's the idea, and that was like with my friend who she had this injury on her arm, and she thought, oh, it's just just a scab, whatever. She goes to take it, and there is all this necrotic tissue underneath, and so that had to get pushed all the way, and it's still healing. It's not healed yet. It's going to take a while, and because it has to heal by primary intention, like from the inside out. So so that's the example he showed me too of her and her healing. So yep. So transformation is love is the transformer, he just said. Love is the transformer, and to stay close to love and to recognize and let love guide. It helps me when I go to that, because when I get into this fear stage, I shake, there's like chills, all this, and so he tells me, no, just go back to love. Love is a transformer. This is good. You're letting go of dark energy, so let it go, and it helps tremendously for me.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question?
You betcha.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening.
Okay, and thank you for bringing Baba Siddhi-chan. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gian dan Sprem. Oh, Gian dan Sprem. Unmute yourself, please. Are you there? Do you know how to unmute yourself?
Maybe we should go to somebody else and come back to him in a little while.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, Vid Bachchan.
Satnam. So the first thing for me that Baba was showing is like he almost like lifting. I felt like my body was lifting from a root system connected to Mother Earth, like up out of the earth, and as if my roots were extending then sort of electrically, like into the cosmos, to other beings and planets. So a sense of being like uprooted and linking in or learning to resource in new ways, like learning to connect and communicate electrically. And then opening to new, wider circles of support cosmically. The other thing was we're going through this purging, this like collective, individual and collective purging. So clearing out what's not vibrating at the frequency of unconditional love and letting go of what's no longer true. And it's happening like through us, through our physical bodies. So we're feeling it in an intense way. And so as we start linking in to support, into this cosmic support, then it's helping not only the planet and Mother Earth, but we're supporting each other as we link into our light and the light, through this deep process of transformation.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so this is basically the same thing. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very similar to what Agia Paul was saying about, like, she was saying like a lifting out, and I was feeling like a lifting up and out. So yeah.
Interesting,
Yeah.
because actually it was maybe a year ago that we were talking about the event, to remember that, about the event. And I know that it was also Gyandas Prem was talking about uh, people are feeling like, what's that, when you are under the water? What do you call that?
Drowning.
Huh?
Drowning.
I'm sorry, say it again.
To drown?
Yes, he said about drowning and like bubbles or something going through there. And I've been thinking about that, and here we go. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, Hadi Munder.
Yeah, it's essentially the same kinds of things we're talking about. Um, one of um, the thing that's said in a beautiful way, that the earth is not for one species only, and so we can't take over the world. It's not meant for us. It's meant for everything, all beings, all um, animate and non-animate, on the earth. And the best, let me see, it's hard to change
just by hearing information. We have to experience it. So we could go to church or go to Gurdwara or go to wherever, and they could tell us this is what we should do. But unless we experience it, or when we experience it, then it becomes real. Then we can understand. So this time is about experiencing the cruel and the dark, and the realization that the planet is not for us. We're only one really speck on the whole planet. So that's what I got.
Okay. Okay. You know, I was listening to, what do you call it? It's not exactly like a psychic, but someone who was hearing, they called it a,
Chant.
a galactic members or being. And one of the things he said was that the core of Earth is becoming hotter and hotter. And I thought, oh, look at that, same thing. How about that? So, oh, and I had heard Japa Saraswati maybe a year ago about, have earthquakes and then tsunamis and so on. So here we are. So God, that we are at least leading us to know what's happening. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. So is Gyandas Prem? Are you here?
Satnam, yes.
Oh, good.
Hmm. So something that came through common for me too was like the rising up, like the coming through.
Mm-hmm.
Um Noticing, so this, what this is that we're dealing with, with our human development. And what I wrote down was refinement of comms.
Mm-hmm.
Um the refinement of comms, our communications, our commission.
KARMS.
No, not our, no, not that, our communications, but I wrote down comms because there's many different, words that we can come from that shortening of that word through communications,
Oh,
commissions, commencements, um, and what I was seeing through Baba Siri Chand was, there's an expression through our way around the laws that we are governed by, in a sense, and the admission that we come to when we're either faced with having the law brought about us in a way that we've done something wrong that puts us in a position that we're taken by the law into a situation where something's going to be taken away from us, either through our admission or through the finding of guilt. When the sorry, I love you, please forgive me, can we be okay with some sort of way of coming through this way of, not generally just flipping it around and saying, okay, you can go, but is there a type of learning that's going on here that we're here for
mm-hmm.
on this planet? And in this country, we've been given some examples if we look around, and then we've created a law, and then we followed that by creating instruments of monetary use
Say it
through
again.
a society. We've created in this country through writing of laws and the use of money, we've created an inequality that sort of almost insults freedom right down to the 500 treaties that were given out that were never. And where does it end? It's silence. There was no ending to that statement because the silence ends there. And now you have people walking out saying, oh, we're going to go take this place and that place and this place and that place because nobody deserves to live here and whatever. So the things that are coming out of that type of leadership is, not what Baba Siri Gian is about, but if we're here to learn together, then let's try to learn what we can learn through the fine whole story, right? Through the refining of that process of what did we write down? What is our past? Where did it come from? What did we do in that past? All the way back to the Catholic Church, if you want to look at the documents that they used when they walked around the world with their weapons, okay, and said, God needs you to do this. Okay, so we're basically faced with that again. And what Baba Siri Chand is showing me is a bunch of magnets. You can put one on each extremity and you can try to push away, you can try to push them together, you'll get a little bit of exercise out of that. But in general, there's a certain way that energy moves. And if we look back to the earth, there's a lot you can do with just by getting in the water. We celebrate different ways by going into the water and just whether we're cleaning and bathing ourselves, and coming back to that noticing of the softness that the water, it gives a little bit of cleaning. Yeah. Um, and here we are like going through these steps that we do daily of noticing the sun came up again, and it's all okay that here we are. We're like praying for each other. We're sending out all these ideas, these thoughts of energy, these ways that we're allowed to create, you know, into beyond our imagination now because we're just having so much success creating that. Is there a fear in that coming back to freedom that we have this willingness, to come back into that way of being human, like, and getting away from the blaming and generating care for the healing to come, for that education to become part of our way, more into the spread out of society, our individual power. Like we have so much power is helping each other, you know, that if we soften enough into the self awareness, there's lessons that we'll learn through ourselves, and that's a way of noticing, that I'm sort of a tree too, right? And then as science goes on, the gut biomes, okay, they have gut biomes in my stomach too. They have four, I have four. All of the life that's going on in between, and then we have the undersea world, the above, going back into the bubble, the womb, the noticing of that cocoon and the kind-hearted motherly way, the welcoming of that in the earth's gifts of our being, combined, and the freedom and evolving the human's way of, learning from the planet. Sophia, our gift here, there's fires of so many types, like that through that thread, there is that uprising in the way of our coming together, and the way of our putting that frequency out there, that it's changing, it's creating invention. The earth also has its own vibration too, right? And oh my goodness, can it move worlds literally, and we have all these stories that we can go back on. But yeah, we're living in a time now where the earth is, it's showing us its power. And I think we can come back into a way of noticing, that the freedom here can allow us to have that expression, and that there will come a time when we are called on to, to help each other. And that's what we're doing now by coming together. So continuing to be in that power that we do have the willingness to look inside and try to change that little bit of ourselves that we can into sharing what we have, as gifts from the earth, from ourselves, that we have obviously generated from items that are here being shared freely that are allowing us to continue here. And yeah, some of the choices that we're making, they will show up as physical ways of our, moving about life. And we can go into so many explanations about that. But in general, I think that we're challenged here as you know, some of our members here are challenged in ways that we haven't been challenged before, and we're here to support each other in that way, regardless of, who that person is, because they may come a time, when this person says, "Hey, you know what? I am sorry. I was wrong." Like it can happen. It can happen to me. It can happen to you, and it will happen to everyone eventually. But yeah, seeing up through that way of the water of like, am I going to make it through this, or am I gonna, what's gonna happen, right? And then, you know, you're out of your body, and the next thing you know, yeah. So the way of that moving of the generating is, it's still happening. So for us to try to argue that, I think that we can come to a way of accepting and even telling that person, "I love you, I'm sorry," right? Of being reminded of that attacker, of how are we going to handle this if we're ready, and if we've practiced, then we can, of course, it's love that's going to help us to say, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean any harm to you," or if it's too quick, there's a way, right? So we can keep practicing that way of the sharing into the openness, and then the creation will allow our learning to, see this way of freedom as, yeah, just learning, and it's okay. It's okay. Why guru? Yeah.
Great.
The using of the voice, I think, is really good for me. What I'm noticing is going back to that, you know, raising my voice in a way of happiness, or however the way is coming to me through the mantra. Yeah. So cross your heart, Satanama, Waheguru. I'll take
Wonderful.
it with me all the way.
Thank you so much. Okay. Japa Saraswati.
Satnam, my message is really kind of messy today, uh,
Okay.
because I have a natural block against it because I feel like I'm afraid of painting it as okay, that like because it's that we have spiritual growth about it, um, that it's, how do I say it? That it's condoning the suffering and the actions. So I asked Baba, is it a foregone conclusion about the worst possible outcome? Like you were talking about the Pope at the beginning. Um, And I said to myself, well, of course it's going to be the worst one that could get there because of the time that it is now. And I just felt like, oh, you know, like hopeless and like just really dark and feeling an energy loss. Part of what Baba showed me was the energy loss of all of this struggle. Like the Middle Ages were um, preceded by tremendous growth, and that it was lost in the Middle Ages. And that's kind of how I feel now, that all of this art and nuance and subtlety is grist in the mill, sort of turning into a very fine flower. And I feel the forest loss because of there's a stretch of road that I drive past on the way to Farmington, and it's massive. They've just cut down all of the trees on it. Probably around November, December they did it. And it's a huge swath of land that used to be forest. And I mean, and that tree, um, I told you guys about a tree at the edge of my land that was very old and very tall and leaning at a precarious angle. So the guys came and cut the tree down on New Year's Eve, and I wanted to count the tree rings to see how old it was. And there's damage in the heart of the tree. Um, that there's these three big places of rot, like Paul was saying, the necrotic tissue. I can pull up, you know, pulpy goop from the inside of this tree, and I can see that it was necessary to take the tree down, or else it was going to fall down and you know damage a lot because of how tall it was and heavy it was. And and Paul said that we're creatures of connection. I wrote it down. Well, because we are the forest, we are the creatures of connection, and some of us are really sick because of this government, but the government is sick because of us in the same way that we are extensions and projections of one another. And that's why I'm afraid of justifying it, because it feels like justifying the patriarchy insofar as saying that, like, yeah, that's what created us, so therefore it's okay, sort of thing. Um, and so I did that intertribal, interfaith walk for it was for peace and friendship across the state of Maine a couple of weeks ago, and this was really kind of my answer to all of that angst that I brought to the table, was that um that group. I'm not sure if you guys heard of Healing Turtle Island, but it was well, they did it mostly in Maine, but it was a number of tribes got together, and also Quakers, but like Quakers were not the main thing, but Quakers get involved in these things because of trying to do reconciliation, because of that element of government that same as it ever was, like we just totally pillaged through, as Gyan Das Prem was saying, like 500 broken treaties that we just kept redrawing the lines, um and making it just this imperialist conquest, this um absolute colonization. And now these tribes are left absolutely decimated on their own ancestral land, and Trump is trying to tell them that they could be deported. Like, oh my gosh. Um, and this walk for peace and friendship, this group has done other reconciliation projects before. So I did the one in, I guess it was 2018 or 19. Um, and it was they'd done it every summer, and this was the concluding of a 25-year cycle of doing it. And it was so potent. And what I feel like I have to tell this story about the conclusion of that. We were all dancing, and you do this, you hold hands kind of across your body and you make a human chain. And it's a dance done to stomp down the grass on the field, like in order to plant later. And so everybody had their arms crossed, and we there were hundreds of us. So you're kind of just being carried along with this energy. And a couple of people in front of me were this older couple. I would say that they were maybe like in their late 70s, early 80s. And they started to not be able to keep up with this crowd, but it was like it was so tightly packed, it was like kind of hard to not do it. And the gentleman started to really kind of like falter. And what I did was I took my body and I put it like around him so that I went in front of him, and I took the other person's hand on the other side and grasped it to make like a bubble around these people so that they could still be in the chain, but that they could go a slower pace, that they were a little bit more protected, from the crush of the mob. Like, and it was really magical. And when people saw that that's what I had done, everybody else started doing it too. It was like at first these people went from being a little bit imperiled to being like cushioned in this bubble of other people who were like, "Oh, wait a second, like let's make accommodation for this." And that's what I feel was the way that I feel like we have this ideal government that insulates and protects people like that it's like, okay, so the majority of the people are going to be going one way, but we're going to have a couple of people who just for whatever reason for some point in time can't go with the crowd. We need, oh my gosh, that's Guru Atma. I have to, Guru Atma, I can't talk right now. um Sorry guys. um and that image of protecting us, I feel like that's where the energy loss that I was seeing is that I feel like we're going we're going the wrong way with the government. That's all I have to say. I told you guys it was a mess. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Oh,
good. Go
but
ahead.
I do feel that intertribal, like this walk for peace and friendship that I did, it was with the same group. And I feel like that's the way. Um, I don't know what else to say about it. I also like it made me very tired, all of the walking. I had to sleep for a day afterward. But
Mm.
yeah,
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Now, I just want to talk about a couple of things. One is about karmas. Remember, 8.5 million lifetimes. So, do you suppose at some time each of mm, our souls or our people have been difficult or dark at those times of our points? So don't worry about that. Those are just because if we already have been dark, and then as we transform, don't forget, transform is going through the light. Remember, that's just the continuation. That's a transform. Excuse me, because of this time, the people here, the rest of us are going through the transformation. And what do you think about that with Japa Saraswati? Do you understand? Would that help you?
Yeah, I love what Paul said about it heals from primary intention, um,
Hmm.
the inside out. Um, because that's I agree. You know, that's kind of what I was trying to say about the tree,
Hmm.
the tree that was rotting on you know, that it was going to cause a lot more harm if it didn't fall down.
There you go.
Yeah.
There
Or if
you
it comes down.
And it also has to let go of the crappy,
Mhm.
like with your mm, kitchen changing.
Yeah, that's why I'm having the block is that I've been doing heart breath, especially about my familial relationships, which are really coming to the surface because the house is like so sturdy. I don't know if I told you guys this last week, but when they did the wall, the kitchen floor always used to have a little bit of a bounce to it, and they found a bulge in the wall that they basically spent extra days removing this bulge in the wall, and then when they did it, the kitchen wall now has no bulge, but the floor has no bounce to it. And it's like it wasn't really pronounced, but it was subtle, and I feel the whole house is just so much more stable and secure in this way that I wasn't even aware of before, and that's what it feels like, the healing from the inside out, you know? But then it brought up these issues with my mother that I've just been doing Ho'oponopono to myself for having these this interaction, these relationships with my mother, and that's where the defense of government or the defense of the patriarchy um, came up for me, was that I feel like I I I can't defend it, you know? Um,
Right.
yeah.
But are you not making you being, what do you say? Mm, the, mm, what do you say? That's your own, mm, it's not the right word, but your own promise, your own cruelty. Do you understand?
Yes. Yeah, and that was even so for the right before this, I'm doing the Quaker prayer time, and the whole time I was doing Ho'oponopono to myself, but I was actually especially dwelling on the dark places of myself, the dark places where I'm not forgiving, where I'm stubborn, where I was just a total asshole, where all of these things were kind of gone to the left. And it was really wonderful. It was a really wonderful healing, but it's time I want to spend more time in that.
Isn't that amazing?
Hmm.
And I have done the same sort of thing is that I have realized that when people are talking, and sometimes I am judging other people, and I went, oh my God, this is not my problem. This is terrible. And so I kept working and working about love, heart breath to pure heart breath, love.
Mhm.
And for some, it appears that that's happening across the whole business. Do you think so?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to continue with that.
Me too.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate everybody and everything. So, oh, we're just transforming to the light. That's it. And letting go. Remember letting go, letting God? There it is. Okay. So I love you, all of you. Okay, so maybe Hadi, can you sing the song for us?
I'll give it a try.
Okay.
So inhale deeply and feel free to move physically with the song.
Mhm.
So inhale. May the love sunshine
Upon
all love surround you,
Surround you,
and the pure light within
in
you
you,
guide
take
your
your way on,
guide
guide
your
your way
on,
on.
guide your way on.
you. God, love you. Love you and love all.
Love
God,
you all. Thank you.
thank you
Love
so
you. Thank you.
much. Okay, bless you all. See you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Satnam.